Yes, we're green. I'd like to call this meeting of the Coffee County Investment Committee to order. Today's date's March 11th, 2024, time's 4 p.m. We're in conference room 1. Chairman Judd Matheny and I detect a quorum, and we are ready to move forward with this open meeting. We have recorded the roll through a sign-in sheet. Has everybody signed it? Mr. North, if you'll sign it when it comes back around, I believe Ms. Edinger has it down there. And our first order of business is to approve the agenda for today. I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hobbs.
I'll second.
We have a second. And do we have any discussion? Seeing none, we're prepared to vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by voting aye. Those opposed vote no.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Agenda is approved. Next is public comments. At this time, we'll give any member of the public up to 2 minutes to speak on any issue that is germane to the agenda and the subject matter, if anybody would like to speak. Seeing no public comments, we'll move forward to approve and modify the previous meeting agenda minutes from December 14th, 2022, which are included in your packet. There actually are labeled, yes. You should have them. The legislative committee minutes. Okay. Do we have any modification of the previous minutes?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I did not send Jonathan here to vote on my behalf.
Okay.
I sent him to report back to me because I had to be at another meeting.
Okay. That is duly noted, and but you're here to vote in your presence today.
Right. Correct.
Do we have any additional modification of the minutes?
The sheet I'm looking at says 22.
That is the last time this committee met.
Was it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Oh, we met since then, last year.
There were meetings passed from January.
There were not any in the investment committee. We'll be meeting quarterly now. It's on the revolving every 90 days, second Monday, every 90 days. But we've not met. Do we have any other clarification of the agenda? Seeing none, are we prepared to approve the agenda? I'll entertain a motion. A second.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second with the corrections.
Second with the corrections about your the voting status of Jonathan. In discussion. Seeing none, we're prepared to vote on approving the last minutes. All those in favor signify by voting aye. Those opposed vote no.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We will move on to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business that members would like to bring up? We have none on the agenda. If not, we'll move to new business. Most important thing, obviously, we're doing first and foremost today is reviewing and selecting a 4-year contract for Coffee County Banking Services. Now, purchasing and myself and trustee's office sat down and reviewed the various bids, put them in our rubric, and I think I'll entertain a report. Stephanie, do you want to come up and talk about our findings? Please, ma'am. If you turn your mic on and identify yourself, and also if you'll sign that sheet. Okay, thank you.
Can I make a,
Sure, Mr.
Mayor, could we recognize Carter Sane with Coffee County Bank,
Carter Sane with Coffee County Bank.
Cindel Adams, Coffee County Bank, Keith McCullough, Coffee County Bank, Angie Morris, Coffee County Bank, Troy Martin, First Bank, Lisa Deal, First Bank, and Ryan Gray, First Bank.
No one from U.S. Banks here.
No.
Okay. And those were the three, Coffee County Bank, First Bank and US Bank.
Yeah, those were the respondents, and I sent everybody an invitation. First thing I'll pass is the returns from each bank. Should be enough for- I think I gave you a copy of that, but maybe not. There's Coffee County Bank. There's two. And US Banks was very thick. If you'd like to see the whole one, I brought it, but I was being frugal with county paper funds.
Sir.
And then I do have a rubric for each bank, any notes that we took as the mayor, I and John sat and discussed I did give you copies of these though, right? No? John, I gave you copies, right?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, you did.
Did I give you copies? Okay.
Yes, I have, okay. I have one.
You have I did one,
No,
there's
it's okay.
There's individuals for each. You might have a copy if I. So. Extras.
Got an extra on Coffee County and
Yeah, I got that.
those two.
You have US Bank too? Okay. So, we did a formal bid. We advertised, out of all the banks we sent to, which we sent one to every bank in Coffee County, we had the 3 that responded. We gave them time to send questions for us to answer them and for the sealed bids to come back. We went over each return and kind of marked off of a checklist of what the trustee felt was what he'd like to be required of the bank that they use for the county's accounts. US Bank met some marks. They chose to not really respond with interest rates on the county sign-in sheet, and I think that's the second page of them. I think so. Yes. So with that being said, there was also things like they don't offer like security boxes, which at the safety deposit box, which is an audit requirement, we have to have one. If the auditor shows up at any given day and asks to go be taken to it, they have to be able to go to said box. And we felt like safety issues, you don't want them traveling with going to one bank to make a deposit and another bank to go take something to a security deposit box. And there was a couple other things, like positive pay. They didn't, which I don't know if that's a deal breaker really at this point or not. They were not going to give they were going to give the county like a credit for deposits, checks. So over time that would cost the county money. Coffee County Bank and First Bank had the most checks. First Bank checked off every box of things that were of importance to the trustee's office. The only thing missing from Coffee County Bank was positive pay, but they were willing to go into that for us if we so choose to need those for all of our accounts. And then the Tennessee State Collateral Pool, I don't think they're a part of that. I couldn't see where they were. And if we did use them, they would have to have by 105% collateralization to cover all of our money. And that would also have to be constantly monitored. And that's an auditor's requirement, I believe. Is that right, John?
That's correct.
Okay. So they're the 2 closest banks that would cover our needs. Of course, you know, there was some positives in there. You know, Coffee County Bank had a little bit higher interest rate than First Bank. I mean, as you go through and look at the detail of the bid, this is just kind of a rough. That's why I gave everybody the return of each bank. As far as purchasing is concerned, we just try to make sure that we put the bid out, that we got the respondents back, that we kind of fit that timeline and kept in policy that we needed to with this. And so I guess with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the mayor and let discussion happen.
Sure, I'll entertain, in discussion, I'll make a couple comments. I know the trustees very much in favor of positive pay, so that's, I think an up and running positive pay account's important. Also, I think the state collateral pool is very important to be a member of for our investments, and we know that's very important. And also, we have had would you like to talk about our relationship with First Bank and how it's been, Mr. Trustee, and for so many years? And
Yeah, I think that, and I'm happy to say that in our community, there's banks throughout the community that we have an excellent relationship with. During the times when interest rates had bottomed out to very low, a lot of the banks pitched in. First Bank had a ceiling or a threshold of like 0.40 when interest rates everywhere else were 0.01, which local government investment pool was 0.01, and First Bank was at 0.40. That wasn't too many years ago.
so they carried us through a tough
It
time.
carried us through a tough time. The other thing I'd like to say is we have a select amount of investments, if you will, CDs that we, when they come new, when the CDs mature, we send those CDs out for bids. And local banks here have always gone through and I've got the rates where they have, well, I don't want to get into all that, but there's rates where they have bid on our CD monies. And let me make something clear. As far as Coffee County Bank, during audit, we,
Coffee County Banks or Coffee?
Coffee County Bank, during audit time, the auditors look at which banks we're investing our money in, and then they look at the collateral pool. Collateral pool is very important, but Coffee County Bank has always provided the 105%, and anytime we've had an audit, they've always showed us or showed the auditors that we were in compliance in that particular respect. So we have two very competitive bids here. It's not an easy decision to just say one bank is better than the other. But I think looking at what Coffee County needs are at this time, the checklist that we used put First Bank just a little bit higher than any of the other banks that were there bidding. So as a pool, as a collateral pool, the auditors usually don't look at anything. They don't investigate or don't look at anything as far as anyone who has their investments with the collateral pool. But again, the relationships with our local banks, I think, is very well. There are a lot of banks that do bid on our CDs when they come due. So I applaud Carter, Troy, Ryan. I applaud everything that you do, Keith, everything that y'all do to keep us continue providing funds back to the community in those sets of revenue that we can return on interest. Larry?
Thank you. And we've had a relationship with First Bank, I guess, for 30 years.
I can tell you from 2014.
Okay, I think this county has had a relationship with them for 30 years, and I've not heard anything that would dissuade us from potentially continuing that. It'll be the will of this committee, obviously, and entertain any additional comments or suggestions, and then we'll move forward on the selection.
I have a question. There's not a reason we couldn't do with both banks, is there?
We are dealing with both banks. Coffee County Bank always, anytime we have a bid on a CD, they always bid. And it's always a competitive bid.
And every bank would bid, obviously, and I'm sure does bid when we shop CDs around. So, But for core banking services, waiver of fees, I know First Bank, and of course, the Coffee County bid also is willing to do that too. But there's a lot more than just investment of idle funds and investments. There's extraordinary amount of service that goes with the thousands of checks we write, the millions and millions of dollars in deposits, canceled check fees, wires, deposits, whole host of services.
I was seeing on First Bank a number of notes, and one of them was per check cost, but I don't see that on this other one. Did I miss it?
That's the positive pay I think you're referring to.
Yeah, during our discussion of kind of going over the rubric, kind of what the mayor was talking about, we were trying to really grasp, because that's out of our wheelhouse, it's more the trustee side. We were trying to grasp how much work Coffee County is truly for a bank. I mean, we are quite a bit to handle, and we were trying to go over, what it would cost if we did go with positive pay. It's not something like right now we're paying for it. They were willing to give it to us for free this time. So we were trying to look at the cost we could save possibly if we decided to go with that. So a lot of these things are just what they're doing for us, and so we could kind of gain some more insight on what they truly do for us day in and day out, that most offices don't get to see that side.
Positive, let me say something here. Positive pay is just one aspect of services. I mean, we will process, probably several wires every month are processed. We have, in the accounting office, we have some stop payments that are processed on checks. Mariana, how many checks do you write out of your office every year?
6,000-7,000.
Okay. I was going to say 10,000, but that may be estimated a little bit too high.
Of course, the Board of Education has a whole host of additional checks, which are at least that many,
Right.
that are also considered in this overall bid. So it's not just the county, it's also Department of Education, school board.
Yeah. Can't speak for them.
I think it's 5,000 to 7,000 at least also from
That's my 13th one.
a lot.
Okay. So, I mean, there are services, added services that aren't really counted in this bid.
There's a whole host of added services. It's an extraordinary lift for a bank to handle this account. It truly is. There's a lot of services that have to be done. There's an extraordinary amount of paperwork, oversight, and it can be cost prohibitive to some banks. And we just have to keep that in mind. This is truly a business relationship, and we need to be able to give predictability to our banking partner that we choose, both in how we manage funds, including idle funds, and also what our expectations are of them, because we are asking them to take it on the chin quite a bit for their fees and services. If we were a private company that had the amount of deposits and services that we have, this would be many, many thousands of dollars a month, many thousands of dollars a month in banking fees that would need to be paid in services that are waived. So it's very serious.
For a motion?
I'll entertain a motion, absolutely.
I make the motion that we go with First Bank.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hobbs to choose First Bank. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Trustee Marcheshoni. Do we have any discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll prepare to vote. All those in favor of awarding to First Bank signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Those opposed vote no. Ayes have it. Congratulations, First Bank. Thank you. And we will be in touch about the execution of the contract. And I do want to thank you for your past service with us. We want to thank everybody for bidding, and we'll look forward to a prosperous relationship with our banks in the future. Next thing we'd like to do on the agenda is have a review of where our investments are, Mr. Trustee, just so the investment committee can kind of get a snapshot of where our monies are and what's going on.
Sure. You'll pass that around. Same thing. Yeah. Okay. The first column lists the bank name. Next column is the account number, the amount, the maturity date, interest rate, and then the time of the months on those. So that's pretty self-explanatory. These are CDs, and then at the bottom are T-bills with multi-bank securities.
These are all local banks.
Yes.
Okay.
Multi-bank securities is
I'm asking.
well, multi-bank securities it's a different firm. Okay.
Are all these banks located in Coffee County?
We have People's Bank, Coffee County Bank, Smart Bank, First Bank, Capstar, Traders, First Vision.
I get those. I saw
Okay.
those.
Multi-bank is not a local bank.
Where are they at?
It's a security firm. It's out of Michigan.
Where are they at?
Michigan.
There's a lot more with multi-bank.
Absolutely. And there's a reason for that.
Okay.
Those are 6-month treasury bills, and they're range from 5.43 to 5.27.
Okay. But the difference is $5 million local and $25 million out of county. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, we've got a snapshot of where they are. Does anybody like to have any discussion on this agenda item?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Sedinger.
So, do we have an agreement with multi-bank securities?
That was a
I'm not-
resolution with multi-bank securities. That was at the meeting that, in 2022.
But it wasn't approved by the commission.
I believe it was approved by the commission.
No, it wasn't.
I don't know because
I do
I
know.
wasn't the county attorney.
It was not. It was removed from the agenda.
Yeah, I remember it was removed from the agenda. I don't remember it being put back on. That and our policy was removed from the agenda
Okay.
just prior to the meeting. I know they were approved by the investment committee and they were approved by the legislative committee. The policy was, but the agreement and the policy was removed from the agenda just prior, at your request, just prior to the January 10th, 2023 meeting. And that's,
Most of these are within a 10th point from the local folks, right?
They are 6-month CDs rather than 12-month CDs. And they'll be coming due in May and June. The advantage to have those due in May and June is budget fiscal year ends on June the 30th. Generally, that's when we experience a cash crunch.
Sure.
So those monies are used for July, August, September, and part of October.
Okay.
Do we have the bids for each of these, and what bank bid what? Because we do want to keep our money locally.
I agree wholeheartedly. This was a bid from August 1st, 2023.
Thank you, sir.
It's a result page on the front, and then if you look on the second page, when we sent the request out.
Very good, thank you. I think we can get to some of this in in our next agenda item as far as our procedures for selecting these deposits and the locations and the investments. But this gives us a snapshot of where everything is, which is what this agenda item is. And so we know what we're working with, and we know it's an extraordinary amount of work. Mr. Marconi, thank you for that. And do we have any additional discussion on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move to the next agenda item, which is review and discuss procedures for selecting our amounts, our timeframes, and locations for investments. What we're trying to determine now, are we operating under an investment policy?
Mayor, I wrote an investment policy in 2017, and I brought it to
Which everybody has in that packet.
the investment committee. For whatever reason, on 2 or 3 separate occasions, it was not approved.
I have the minutes from September 12th, 2017. It says that Mayor Cordell amended the agenda by removing item 8L, which was the investment committee policies and procedures. Do we know why it was removed?
What meeting was that?
This was September 12th, 2017. Does anybody? It's a long
I
time
wasn't on
ago.
commission. I wouldn't know.
But I'm just trying to show where all this is, so we have a good snapshot of it. But it was removed.
Not mine.
I thought you were
And then,
for me.
When Mayor, if you will, when I wrote the investment policy, the things that I considered most importantly were, number 1, safety, number 2, liquidity, and then number 3, rate of return. So I think it spells that out in there.
Correct.
There was some discussion, I think, in the last meeting regarding drug fund allocations. There was so much discussion about that. That really didn't relate to the investment policy, but I think that's what nailed it in the last meeting.
well, the first reference was September 12th, 2017. The policy was removed from the agenda. It doesn't look like anything else happened that I can find between September 12th, 2017 and late 2022. The investment committee, when they met in 2022, approved, which is basically this policy that came forward in 2017, referred it to the legislative committee. The legislative committee then, Frank Watkins, under page 2, under the heading Safekeeping and Custody, item C, proposed an amendment, said all interest funds will be reposited into the general fund, and the exceptions of the library, with exceptions of the library fund and the drug fund, will be reinvested in the original account. And that was approved unanimously. Then the amended policy went on to the January 10th, 2023 full commission meeting, and then I think you asked for it to be pulled just right before the meeting. And that's the posture that we're in right now. So this committee needs to pass and today is probably too much to do all at one time, but I think this committee in the next 90 days needs to draft and pass an investment policy. I think because in the
You need one.
because we have we just need to make sure that we're following all proper procedures. If we don't have an
Thank you.
investment policy, then, it's active, then the full commission has to actually approve all investments each time, and I don't think, we just gotta make sure that's happening and be as seamless as possible. So what I'd just like to bring forward is this committee, in the meantime, anytime we make an investment, then this committee needs to convene and pass it, and then the full commission needs to pass it until this committee creates a policy that says this committee's responsibility can end with, the investment can move forward with the decision of this committee only. And I think,
The only problem with that is, a lot of times you have to look at the market, and if you'll look, the next handout that I'm gonna give shows the investments and investment amount, maturity dates, interest rates, and returns. You have to be active at market conditions and market times. You can't wait 30 days to make a decision on an investment. It's just not gonna work.
well, we can have a
I tell you, we could meet every Tuesday morning at 7:30.
well, we can have a special called meeting anytime we need to do it within 7 days.
Yeah, I mean, but we could set up and meet every Tuesday morning at 7:30 and discuss the market and what we should be doing, if you'd like to do that.
Well, state law is very specific. It says that in the absence of a policy, that the full commission is to approve every investment. So that's what I want to get into compliance with state law. If you want to be here every morning at 7:30, you can. But
I'm
we're
here every
going
morning
to
at 7:30.
create an investment policy with this committee, and we're going to pass it, and it's either going to say the full committee is going to approve investments, or the investment committee is going to approve investments, and that's the way we're going to follow it. Until such time as we get a policy like that done, we are going to meet every time we need to make an investment and approve it here in this committee and then by the full commission. We can meet in 2 weeks and adopt this policy and be in full compliance, and then we move forward with this committee can meet as needed every week or as needed when we have an investment, or we can have our regularly quarterly meetings, but we've got to do that. That's just what we have to do. And also, I'm just going to go ahead and bring it up. I want to have, when we move monies, how many signatures do we have on a check?
I don't understand your question.
I mean, do we have one signator, 2 signators on a check when we do it? I'm just looking at the accountability here. I'm trying to do this now so we don't have to meet every morning at 7:30. So do we have one signature that moves $5 million? Do we have 4 signatures that move it? Is there advance notice given to any banks before we move the money? So we don't have a policy. So we've got to have a policy. That's all I'm saying, is this committee needs to meet and come up with a policy. Implement it, and it's a done deal. But we've been operating, I can't find where this commission has passed a policy. That's all I'm saying. So let's do that. And, I'll be quiet now and entertain any discussions. But to me, it's pretty cut and dry and simple. And,
I apologize for being late. I was sitting in my office and the clock just like that. It had me-
an old one.
Can you go back and explain your question?
Good job, Mr.
I finally
Straightforward.
figured it out.
We just need to have a policy on how we're going to handle these investments and how we're going to handle the monies.
Is there a problem with the investments now?
I don't know if we're in compliance. I mean, you keep asking the questions, I have to answer them. I'm just,
I don't know what you mean.
well, I just want to make sure that we're following the proper procedures for investing Idle County funds. And unless we've adopted the Financial Management Act of '81, it says that the commission has to approve each one in the absence of an investment policy. That's all I was trying to say pleasantly at the beginning. And I can't find an investment policy that's been passed, so we have to pass one. The sooner the better. If we can get it done in a couple of weeks, and there's no hiccups, we can have a special called meeting. But until then, we've got to meet as a committee to approve investments, and then they've got to go to the commission for a full vote. And if it's a huge deal, we can have investment committee meetings, and then we can have special called meetings back to back to back. But we've just got to do it this way. And, you know, it's just what I want to do. And, I mean, I'm open to any suggestions. Yes, ma'am.
Since we're talking about compliance, although this committee has awarded First Bank, it is a multi-year contract, so it's gonna have to go to full commission to complete that. And then once they award, then I'll be able to finalize the award and we'll be able to sign the contract.
Will there be issues as far as, you know, pulling monies out and things of that nature? Will there be minimum balance requirements? I'm gonna assume it's all. Will there be minimum balance requirements on this?
Wouldn't that be illustrated in the contract?
Oh, yeah, but I don't have.
Then why would you want to deviate from the contract that already exists?
No, we're gonna make a new one, apparently.
The
We
new
just
one's
voted
already
on
here.
it.
We have a 45-day extension with First Bank. Our contract expired March 2nd.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
April 9th is when I anticipate us being able to see this in the full commission meeting and adopt the contract. Will be well within that 45 days extension.
Okay. All right,
So it
this
shouldn't
is-
be any problem at all.
It's rhetorical, but I'm just asking.
But what I'm just bringing up is we need an investment policy, and we need it. I think the trustee has written a good one, and we just need to properly
That's fine.
bring it
That's
forward,
awesome.
and
Yeah,
we
that's great.
we need to vote on it.
I got a couple questions.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Hobbs.
So, I mean, from what John's drafted here, right, we just want to add, I mean, that basically the investment committee can approve, so we don't go to the full commission. Is that, I mean, 'cause
That-
it's either or, is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct. In the absence of an investment committee, yes, sir, it needs to go to the full commission, but one of the two has to.
So, I mean, I guess that's a question for this committee, right? Do you feel good about saying, yes, we can do it, or do you want it to go to the full commission? I mean, if we're gonna modify a policy to put in place, I guess the committee would decide that, right? If
Well, I don't think that's fair for John. Sorry, let's buck out of turn.
What's,
what do you mean?
You know, as far as micromanaging investments now, what we've done is we've invested $5 million locally and $25 million somewhere else. So
So what the mayor just said is he wants a
Again-
policy in place on how this is done.
I agree. Yes.
So that's where you gotta start, right? Who's gonna be the approval is what I'm trying to find out now.
I agree with that. I agree. Yes, sir. I understand your question.
And it's not to micromanage John, right? I mean, we want a team, or what if John's not there, or whatever, right?
well, we have to do it anyway.
Sure.
And
So I think we have to establish that, right? Is it gonna be the committee or the full commission?
I think the committee's fully capable of doing it, in my opinion. And we can batch them together every quarter if we have to, or if we have to have a special meeting to approve them individually, we can do that. But I think it'd be less bureaucracy, and
Well, I sense what you're telling me, that before I make any investment, I have to get permission. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. The state law says that.
So what are the duties of the trustee?
Well, they're to make those investments and to ferret them out and look for them.
Collect money.
But state law is quite specific. It says in the absence of a policy that the full commission has to do it. I mean, it's just, so,
So when you adopt a policy, am I still gonna have to get permission before I do any investments?
yes, sir, the legislative committee still has to adopt it, but the full commission does not have to. That's both in CTAS opinions, it's in the Comptroller's Guide to Invest in Idle County Funds, and it's in Tennessee statute. I mean,
Do you mean the investment committee, or do you say legislative committee?
investment is what
Okay.
I mean. The investment
Yeah,
committee,
investment, not legislative.
statutorily, an investment committee
Right.
can be
Right.
constituted by the full county body. They can be vested with the duties of approving investments. In the absence of that process,
Right.
the full commission.
I think you said legislative.
Sorry,
It's okay. I think that's what confused John.
Well, just for the record, last year our investments, even with the way the interest rates were, our investments are right at $1 million. Right now, we're on track. Not our investments, but our income revenue was right at $1 million, I think $960-something thousand. that we returned back to the county based on the investments that we made. This year, we're on track, we're on record for right at 3.6 million that's going to be returned back to the county. So if you want to restrict that, there would probably be some consequences there. But that's up to you. That's up to this body.
What do you mean
I'll-
by
I'll
restrict?
do that.
What do you mean
I
by
don't
restrict
believe
it?
anybody wants to restrict anything. The mayor's saying we don't have a policy. and we
Yeah,
have
it
to
has
have a
nothing to do with
policy.
restricting, and Mr. Trustee, I don't make the laws. I'm just saying, you know, you keep asking questions, so I'm gonna keep answering them. And, you keep making statements, I'm gonna respond to them. I think I've already spoken about what this committee needs to do, and we need to just do it. But now, there's nothing in me that wants to restrict these. Nobody is arguing that you haven't made prudent investments with our money. We're just saying that we've got to close this gap up, of what is there. And, you know, comptroller clearly says an investment committee, county legislative body may appoint a committee with authority to designate the types, amounts, and maturity of investments, or the full county legislative body has to do it. We don't have a policy. It's been pulled from two separate agendas. We just got to get it. We got to get it passed, and it's got to pass muster. That's all that was said here at the beginning, and nobody's insinuated anything other than that. We just want to get it done. And you know, if we want to talk about restricting, I could really say some things about our banking relationship and the fact that our contract expired, and we could have really been exposed. But I'm not going to say anything. Do we have any additional discussions? Yes, sir, Mr. Commissioner Miller.
I guess I'm a little bit slow, but I would like to know that we have more information prior to showing up at a meeting and then have to vote on all this stuff.
Well,
Y'all were involved in dealing with the banks,
Mhm.
but my vote, I didn't get to hear any of that. All I saw was a few notes and a few things like that, a little bit of discussion, so. In the past, we did have some more discussion, about voting on the banks.
have you fired your email up yet for the county where you can get these things we're sending out?
Never got set up.
Well, that's one reason you're not getting them, sir. Sorry. Any additional questions?
But as of now,
Any additional?
I'm more of a citizen. Never mind.
All right, do we have any further discussion on this agenda item? We'll move forward, and we will convene again in second Monday of June, unless we decide to meet sooner, which I think we should, to adopt a committee.
Could we could we set something for the first week or so of April?
Well, absolutely we
So
can.
that we can maybe get through the task and get it to,
April 9th is our next committee meeting, so I would suggest that we meet within 7 days of that in case we would like to have something approved that way. Because we are all trying to pull in the same direction here and just get it done and move on to bigger things.
what day would we need to do that?
We could meet,
It's Monday. So,
Look, I'm,
Mayor, what TCA number are you quoting regarding this investment,
it is,
please?
I'll give you the,
I think 302.
how about we could do, let's see, we've got a legislative committee meeting on the 25th, but that gives us plenty of time in case we need to. Because if we adopt something, it's got to go to legislative, so it's got to have 2 weeks.
so if we get it through in April, we could do it in May at our board meeting?
Yes.
Cause I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna be out of town the 16th through the 1st.
All right. How about Tuesday the 2nd?
That works.
April 2nd.
Could we do 4 o'clock again?
Oh,
4:30?
no,
Okay.
I was joking, I was joking.
Yes, let's do 4 PM so we can hopefully get our, and we should just, be able to pass something and move on.
I'll give everybody time to think about it, right, and come up with what we need to do to meet the requirements, right, so we can move forward.
That's correct.
So we're gonna review this
Yep.
from, and that, is that it? We're to review the investment policy.
Yes, and for any additions or changes, maybe a couple things that need to be added in there, and we'll make sure that the desire of the legislative committee from January 3rd, 2023, to remove the library fund and the drug fund is represented in that. Have any further business? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you.